Greetings, everybody. Welcome to the Wednesday, April 27th, 2016 episode of Free Webinar Wednesdays. This is Eric Cook, and I'm with WSI Digital Marketing, where we work with businesses and organizations on helping them better understand and leverage the power of the internet as a strategic business tool. You can learn more about me and WSI online at www.poweredbywsi.com. With me this week is my good friend and Free Webinar Wednesday partner, Mr. Jeff Simpkins. Jeff, say hello to everybody out there in Free Webinar Wednesday world.
Greetings, everybody. This is Jeff Simpkins. I'm with Community Bank Consulting, Inc., and you can learn more about me and Community Bank Consulting, Inc. online at www.communitybankconsulting.com.
Sounds good. So how have you been? We've chatted at least a couple of times this week on several projects, so I've kind of gotten my Jeff skinny, but what's new in your world for our Free Webinar Wednesday friends?
Oh, well, last week was vacation, so I had a little bit of time relaxing by the pool in Palm Springs. That was awfully nice.
Excellent. Well, I've got vacation coming up in a couple of weeks, so I'm looking forward to that. And likely we'll be posting cancellations for Free Webinar Wednesdays. So when I go on vacation, Free Webinar Wednesdays gets to go on vacation, unless you've got
I did something novel while I was away this time. I took a technology vacation as well. I didn't use my technology for anything except reading my New York Times in the morning, and I have to say I enjoyed it.
Nice. Yeah, I don't know if I'll get that much of a reprieve as a vacation, although I think I get more personal enjoyment out of all of my technology gadgets than maybe what you do. So I think if I disconnect too much, that might stress me out more, and at least just checking in periodically is probably good for my sanity. Although that probably says something related to my sanity, so we'll see.
It probably just says that I'm getting kind of old, that I need to take a vacation from it.
Yeah, those of you that are
young-minded, generally, though.
Yeah. Well, those of you that are listening live during today's session, you can feel free to chime in the question and answer chat box as to whether or not your preference is to totally disconnect, or if certain semblance of technology helps save your sanity, because I know that it's certainly that way for me. So, but anyway, so that it's probably a good reminder. Not that we have a tremendous amount of organization to today's episode, but if you do have something that you'd like to share, feel free to go ahead and use the chat box. And we're also recording this, and depending on how it goes, we might post it up to Free Webinar Wednesdays, or it might just end up going into La La Land. Who knows? But it is being recorded, so a little bit more of a free form conversation today, really, and I kind of debated about canceling the webinar, but at least a half an hour of just sharing some things that I've been trying out and playing, and kind of sharing some observations that might be of interest to the audience. Last couple of weeks, Deborah Gonzalez, who's my partner over at Digital Risk and Compliance Partners, her and I have co-presented a couple of full-day social media boot camps. She's joining virtually via webinar, but we were in Indiana for the Indiana bankers, and then popped over to Pennsylvania last week for the Pennsylvania bankers, and spent a day with bank marketing folks, as well as some compliance. In Pennsylvania, we even had one of the attorneys from one of the banks there, which was kind of cool. And just kind of walk through the whole concept of creating a social media program. And, I still think there is a lot of question regarding social media deployment for any type of organization. And there were some large institutions that were part of these meetings that still had not yet embraced a formal social strategy. And so some of the high points that I think come out of this, and certainly were part of yesterday's banker education webinar, even though there's a lot of banking focus in what I'm saying now, I think the lessons that any organization can take are valid. One was education and training of employees and getting staff familiar and comfortable. If you are going to be moving forward in social media as part of your organization, or maybe you already are doing that, it's very important, especially in the world of banking, but even in a non-regulated industry, to make sure that your staff understands things that they should or shouldn't be doing, guidelines, best practices, kind of train them on how they can participate proactively, give them suggestions on how they can grow their brand, their personal, people do business with people that they know and they like and they trust, so it's not just the business, it's the people within the business that likely is attracting customers. And so social media can be a powerful tool to get your employees to create their personal brand and build their own, I guess, reputation around a particular subject matter or area of expertise. But it was evident that in most organizations, there's still very much that control from the higher up, and that the marketing person, he or she, is the one that is the only one that's really able to communicate. And I'm not suggesting that all employees get to go onto the organization's Facebook page and post as the organization. But when the organization does post something official, making sure that employees know that that's happened and are able to share that if they so choose with their audience, whether that's retweeting it on Twitter, sharing it on Facebook, sharing it on LinkedIn, or any of the other social networks where they may be participating. Um, I think there's still that fear. And when we talked yesterday with Jill and Tim, a couple of social media focused CEOs at banks, that was kind of an overwhelming theme, that they expect and don't restrict their employees from participating in social media at the office, but they've provided training to help them understand what they can and can't do and empowered them to be able to do just that. And they've both been very, very successful at that. So, kind of today is just lessons learned from the past couple of weeks that I wanted to share that may be relevant to the folks that are listening. So, the webinar that I'm referring to, and I see a couple of the names actually in the attendee list today that actually were in this webinar yesterday. So maybe I can get an amen from some of those folks. But I had episode 12 of my banker education series webinar. And again, even though this was very much banking focused, Jill Castile and Tim Marshall shared how they are leading their organizations using social media and participating in the community, engaging, sharing information. It was interesting when we asked questions about, are you using social media to promote products and services? Both of them said overwhelmingly, no, we're not. We're not doing any product promotion in social media. That's another element that I think any organization can, quote unquote, take to the bank, is when you participate in social media, it's very much how do you uplift other people? How do you educate them? How do you share information? Um, Jill even went so far as to share during the talk that her bank has recognized about $40 million in increased loan and deposit growth as a result of their participation in social media. And had the bank jumped into social media several years ago with the explicit purpose of generating loans and deposits, I suspect they would have failed miserably, because people don't want to be sold to in social media. But their approach of not selling and engaging and being conversational and helpful and doing stuff for their communities has resulted in a pretty substantial amount of economic growth, not only for their bank, but over $2.5 million of economic impact that they've had just in the community through some of the activities that they have actually done to help bring business into town. Because the more prosperous Edmond and the metropolitan area that they're in is, the better that is for the bank. So that was a rather long kind of ramble there, Jeff. I don't know if you have any observations or thoughts around that, but I'm curious. I don't know if you were able, I don't think you were able to sit in on the webinar yesterday with Jill and Tim, but um, any thoughts?
Well, I actually was on the webinar yesterday. It was an excellent
Oh,
webinar.
I missed you. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Um, I will say that it was refreshing hearing both of them. The information that they presented, it's pretty unique for community financial institutions, their perspective. And it was, I think what was so refreshing about it was the fact that, they're the senior people at these two financial institutions, and were very comfortable in the use of social media. They were very realistic in their approach to social media, and they recognized it as a tool for just being good neighbors in their communities. I think that ties in with the fact that they say, nope, we're not going out there promoting products and services. We're just using it to create brand awareness. And what they um, emphasized was that their use of social media as being stewards of their communities has resulted in new business for them.
Yeah. So, I don't want to turn this into a banker education series mini webinar, but again, even if you're not a financial institution, I think hearing CEOs that are running organizations talk about how they're using social, we work with a lot of different clients, and typically the CEO or the president of an organization is older, may not necessarily understand social media, thinks that it is something that only the younger kids are doing, or not something that can generate business results. And I think it's pretty safe to say everybody knows banking is being somewhat, quote unquote, or very conservative and old traditionalists. And if these two CEOs can do it, and one of the comments I loved at the end with Tim was, how do you suggest getting to go forward, or how do you talk to maybe an older, either an employee or a board member that may not be on board, that doesn't understand social media? Um, you know, Tim's comment was, well, did they learn to talk? Did they learn to walk? Did they learn to run? I mean, it's a learning process. You just don't innately, unless maybe you're an infant these days, you don't come out of the womb knowing how to use social media and tablets. Although I think that is the case now with the children that are coming into the world.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, something in the water must be. But it is a learning process, and he recognized that. Jill recognized that, and so whether you, as the CEO, don't understand it, there's probably a handful of folks in your organization that do. Build a training program and answer some questions and do some education around how to use it as a communications tool, not just, oh, that's where we advertise, or that's where we promote our products, because you'll be very frustrated with the lack of results if that's the approach that you take.
I like the fact that when you asked Tim how he initially got involved in social media, and I honestly don't even have a feel for what age person he is, but yet the impression has adult children, and he said he became interested in it and moved on that interest to integrate it into his financial institution. And as you just pointed out, while he is running a financial institution, this would apply to any industry.
Yeah.
He said when he saw his kids becoming so involved in social media, he thought there must be something to this and he should learn more about it.
Yep. Yep. So I love I think I want to say it's the Geico commercial where the grandkids show up and grandma and grandpa come out with a stack full of electronic paraphernalia, and the whole, like, hey kids, welcome to the house, none of this stuff works, and they just hand it over. And I think the tagline is, if you have grandkids, you have technical support. That's just how it works. So if if you have somebody younger in your organization, chances are they can help, and that might be a good little project to engage them on. And as the senior person, ensuring that you're involved so that the culture and, I guess the strategy of the organization is always kept at the forefront, but being open to how do we leverage this kind of new and maybe foreign to a lot of people concept of communicating in 140 characters over Twitter, or through pictures on Facebook, or sharing articles and stories in LinkedIn. There's a lot of different ways that I think brands can experience some benefit. And Jeff and I work with a lot of banks and smaller businesses that still, I think, are somewhat afraid. So this is a great webinar to listen to, that even bank CEOs are engaging and doing some really cool stuff via social media.
There's a Wanda Sykes comedy routine that she talks about when her parents try to use their email. And she says that I'll get this email from my mother and it won't have anything in it. And she said, I know that if I really want to talk to her, I just pick up the phone and call and say, Hi, Mom, what's going on? And the answer is always, Oh, honey, I was just trying to email you. that's, that's sort of the adult child equivalent of having the grandkids as built in technical support.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's funny. So,
I played that same role with my parents. I suspect you may as well.
yeah, I've kind of drugged them. My mom's a little bit better, although they both share the same Facebook account, or they just log in as my mom. But Dad pops in there every once in a while, and we'll check things out. So he's not jumped in himself, but he's there lurking behind my mother, which is, at least he's participating, which is good. So.
That's funny. My parents share Facebook and email.
Well, and that's, yeah, and it's an America Online account too, probably, as is the case with me.
Absolutely.
Yep. So God bless them. Um, so a couple other things that I wanted to share, that I think people may be interested in. One of them is kind of a cool opportunity, and one of them is just a public service announcement slash reminder to take a little extra time. So we're going to talk about Facebook, and I'm going to talk about LinkedIn. So with Facebook, uh, Alicia and I are actually out in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, visiting friends, and they've got an office out here. So we're working remotely, and I'm getting used to a 3 hour time difference, waking up at the crack of dawn to catch clients early at their start day back in the Eastern world. But one of the new features that just recently rolled out on Facebook that I tried for a couple of times, and we did this yesterday, no, Saturday, when we were out on a walk, is Facebook's new live video stream. And if you're on a
Oh,
mobile
I
device,
saw those.
yeah. So it's very much a Periscope Meerkat like experience. Periscope obviously is a little different in the sense that it's owned by Twitter, and when you go live on Periscope, it pushes out to Twitter and lets your Twitter friends know. But in Facebook, you have the opportunity to, on your mobile device within your app, when you go and you want to create an update, which everybody's probably done, when you start typing your update, you'll notice that there are icons at the bottom where you can tag friends, you can upload a picture, you can upload a video. But there's a new icon that shows, at least on Android on the far right hand side, which is like a circle with like a head in it, and it's live video. And when you touch that, you're given the opportunity to create a title that's basically pushed out. So you'll see in this instance, the title was Taking a Walk in Coeur d'Alene with Doug and Linda. And what happens is that gets pushed out to your wall, and Facebook is actually, as I've heard, doing things to get these videos to show up a little bit more frequently. We've talked about the challenges of organic visibility in Facebook. And so it's no surprise that not everything that you post on Facebook gets seen by all of your friends. But the video, because they know that it's a little bit more engaging, has a higher likelihood of showing up in your friends' stream so that they can hop on and actually watch and participate. And so I fired up this video. It's about 12 minutes long. We were just kind of walking along. Doug and I were going through, saying funny stuff. There's Alicia and Linda. But you actually have an opportunity to get feedback from people that are watching it live or can participate in the conversation afterwards. And one of the really neat things about this is, as soon as I went live, within like 15 seconds, I got the first comment from a WSI colleague who actually lives in Estonia. And he had posted back, and he's like, "Hey, tell Doug I said hello," because he knows Doug as well. And so while I couldn't necessarily type back to him, he was watching live. So I'm having the conversation, and I'm like, "Hey, Christian, how you doing? How's it going over there?" And then somebody else hopped on. And so in a Periscope environment as well, the people that are watching have the ability to send you commentary through messages and text, and you watch those, and then you give feedback verbally. And so it's an interesting way to, I think, build engagement, to share something kind of neat. My mom was actually sitting with her parents, my grandma and grandpa, and I shot her a text message and said, "Hey, tell Grandma and Grandpa we're going to go online," and she was going to get on to look for some plane tickets. So she caught it. So imagine my grandparents in Florida with my mother on Facebook watching a live streaming video of their grandson and his wife and their friends across the country in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, in real time. Um, I just that's just I can't even imagine the processing power that would take in my grandparents' mind to even comprehend what was really going on there. But technology, pretty cool to be able to do something like that, and of course, lots of branding opportunities for any type of organization to use something like this to again go in and build your personal level of credibility or to have conversations. Some really cool stuff. Have you
If I remember correctly, your grandparents are around 90, aren't they?
just shy of 90? Yes.
I'm just thinking, imagine, you know, back when they were much younger, they had no way to ever even think of a concept
Yeah.
that you just described in their lifetimes.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway.
The technology that you're talking about actually made a feature article in the New York Times earlier in the week, and they talked about the fact that that specific feature that you posted your video with live was added to Facebook as a way to generate fresh content. One of the things that Facebook and all of their analytical capability have determined is that the amount of fresh and interesting content that's being posted by its users has been going down, and they introduced that particular feature on smartphones as a way to encourage Facebook users to generate new and fresh content and to grow the number of users and increase user engagement.
Yep. So you'll notice if I go in, and I'll give a little hat tip to my buddy Chris Lawrence, who I will say got me very well. And good news is I actually made him laugh out loud at a horse show that he was at, so I got him. But you'll see the chronological stream of commentary that came through. So there's my buddy Christian from the Ukraine, Estonia area, kind of going through and saying, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" Some other folks that we know, and then Chris deciding to be a little jokester. I don't know if you caught this in the stream, Jeff, but bat in the cave, left side, which we all know what that means. And at that point in the video, you'll notice that the screen went away from my face, and I started rubbing my nose for fear that it legitimately was the case. And then he admitted he was just kidding, but he interrupted the horse show with laughing out loud. But Chris was in Washington D.C. This Chris is in Canada. I mean, it's you want to talk about engagement. It was pretty cool. So kind of some neat stuff there. So if you haven't tried it yet, I would encourage you to give it a shot. It's a little weird, kind of putting yourself on camera and talking, but you'll be surprised at the people that will jump on and make a comment and reconnect with folks that maybe you've either forgotten about or just haven't chatted with in a while. So give it a shot. I think you'll find it kind of cool. And
I was at a banking regional meeting within the last few weeks, and one of the speakers did sort of a basic introduction to where things are in terms of social media, and one of the platforms that he mentioned was Snapchat. We should do a Snapchat free webinar Wednesdays in the weeks ahead.
yeah, we should, which would mean I'm going to have to find somebody that uses it more than me because I still haven't got on board. So those of you that are listening, if you happen to know of any Snapchat experts that would like to share why an organization or an individual should really be focused on this, we would love the opportunity to have some conversation. So I know there's a lot of people out there that are passionate about it, and I just don't have the circle of friends that are in Snapchat to make it worthwhile for me. And I think I'm almost to the point where I've tapped out my bandwidth as to new platforms that I can learn. But you never know. We can
That's
see.
because you're not in the age group that Snapchat is appealing to,
Yeah, well,
nor are your friends more than likely.
that's probably true. So,
Check with
um,
Mark. I think he probably would be the guy that can help us with that.
yeah, I might do that. I might do that. So, the other thing that I wanted to mention, and I've been through a couple of these now because I entered some new job descriptor, some new, I guess, jobs or titles or organizations that I've been a part of. And on LinkedIn, when you have an anniversary, LinkedIn provides a notification to your connections that you're experiencing an anniversary. So I had an anniversary recently where I added faculty member to the Graduate School of Banking to my profile. So that came up with like a 7 year, and I got a bunch of congratulations. I recently, just within the last couple of weeks, had Digital RCP, which is the joint venture that Deborah and I have for digital risk assessments, and she's the social media attorney. That came up for the 1 year anniversary. Um, the rant that I have around this is, and Jeff and I have talked about the importance of personalizing your connection requests in LinkedIn. So if I'm not connected with Jeff, we chat, we meet, we have a conversation, rather than me just going and finding Jeff and clicking a button and it sends, I would like to add you to my professional network on LinkedIn, Eric C. Cook, comma, MBA, and everybody sends that same generic message. It's very important that you take the time to change that, to give it some personalization. So, hey, Jeff, it was great meeting you at the conference, or I'm looking forward to talking further, or when can we grab that cup of coffee? Whatever the case is, tie that in so that it's relevant. Because what I'm finding for me is if you don't do that, it's almost as bad, if not just a neutral, that I don't even see that as an engagement. It to me seems like you've just gone through and clicked a button, and there's really nothing that you've done to make an effort to truly congratulate me. Like, hey, congratulations! What is digital RCP? I thought you were still WSI. What's going on? Something along those lines. And if you don't know somebody well enough to customize, my recommendation is just don't send it, because they, to me, are starting to fall on deaf ears. And so when I started getting all of these messages for my 1 year anniversary for digital RCP, I actually went on my phone, and I've not fuzzed the names out because I want to do that, but I'm going to use this in one of my upcoming presentations. I went through and I had almost 2 screenfuls of congratulations from people, and they all seemed the exact same thing. Congratulations on your anniversary! Exclamation point. Hope you're doing well. Congratulations on your anniversary! Exclamation point. Hope you're doing well. Um, you know, and I kind of joked around. I've got a buddy of mine that's an IT director for a bank down in Indiana, and he and I kind of exchange stuff back and forth. And he got one of these generic ones, and he shared with me his response. And he kind of lit into the guy a little bit and said, don't send me this if it's generic. I don't really know you that well. I've accepted your connection, but if you don't have, if you're not taking the time to customize, blah, blah, blah. And so we kind of joke back and forth. But, I think, those are almost like the social media version of a robocall. And to a certain extent, I don't want to say they're offensive, but I would just like to suggest very strongly for those of you that are listening, don't do that. If you're going to take the time to congratulate somebody on a promotion, an anniversary, take the time to change it and tell them why you're congratulating them. I guarantee you will stand out. And in that 2 or 3 pages on my mobile device, I can pick out the 1 or 2 people that actually took the time to personalize that. And I jumped back and had a conversation with them. And while it didn't lead to business for either one of us, it was a much more enjoyable interaction. I know we're busy. I know we want to do what is efficient, but please think before you click. And the worry that I have, I suspect, is being shared by others, especially if they're connected to a lot of people. You don't need 50 congratulations on your anniversary. Hope you're doing well from 50 different people saying the exact same thing. It doesn't matter. So I'm going to get off my soapbox right now, but I'm curious, Jeff, if you've experienced that, or maybe I just seem to be in an anniversary cycle where everybody's hitting me up and it's just bugging me. But what are your thoughts?
Well, I will say that LinkedIn has changed the way those notifications are received, or at least that's been my experience as a user. I actually used to enjoy, I got an email every day from LinkedIn saying that these people in your network have some event today, and it was anniversaries and birthdays and the information that LinkedIn had. And I would use that. Typically, I set aside a few minutes every day to go into each of those persons' profiles or messaging area and say, happy 20th anniversary, happy anniversary at whatever company, happy birthday, Eric. So I did personalize it. Now, I believe that LinkedIn has now set it up so you actually have to go into LinkedIn, log into LinkedIn, and find that information. And honestly, it's just become challenging, and I've stopped. It's not as convenient as it once was. Um, I do a similar thing on Facebook. On my birthday, I really do appreciate birthday greetings. But what I notice with a lot of people is they'll just go in with their birthday greetings and say happy birthday. And it's just like a line in the news feed. I actually, in alignment with what you just pointed out, when I'm doing birthday greetings, I'll personalize it and say happy birthday, Eric, happy 46th birthday, Eric, or actually look at the person's profile, and if it's someone I know well, mention something that's worth sharing in a public forum and those type of things. So absolutely, I agree with you.
Yeah, I just think the importance of personalization as more and more people get on, and there's more noise, the more that you can do as a participant to stand out from what everybody else is doing, clicking and grinning is what I like to refer to it as, the better your chances are to be successful and actually get value out of it. I mean, if all you're looking for is to, blast out congratulatory messages to 30 of your connections, that's your prerogative. And I'm not telling you you have to do something different. But my suspicion is if you're going to be participating in social media, you want to have some level of engagement. You're not just there, you know, just to use canned responses. And you make a good point. When you get the notifications, even in LinkedIn, it will tell you, 1 year at Digital RCP, or, 7 or 10 years at Community Bank Consulting. I work that in, wow, has it been 10 years? Sometimes I'll see somebody that's been in an organization for 30 years or more. And I'll joke and say, did you start work when you were 12? Wow, 30 years is impressive. Congrats. And that is not something that basically is just regurgitated automatically uh, by the LinkedIn engine. So anyway, personalize. Make sure that you take the opportunity to show some attention. Um, we did get a comment for somebody that is a huge Snapchat advocate, and I'm going to go ahead and put that in my little follow-up notes and check that out. So thank you so much for that recommendation. So jot down. Cool. Good. I have to stop talking when I'm writing. I can talk and type, but I can't talk and handwrite at the same time. I don't know what the deal is with that. Little
I'm
challenge.
chuckling as I'm seeing your video scroll across the free webinar Wednesday screens. One of the first things that many people say to me when I'm attending conferences or out in some public forum and we learn or talk about the fact that you are our mutual friend is many of them are so taken aback by how candid you are in sharing your life on social media and often comment on it.
Everybody loves my dogs. Oh, my puppies. So, yep, absolutely. I get a lot of comments with regards to golden retrievers. So but that's good. So, well, I'll be honest, Jeff. Those were like the the few things that I really wanted to kind of mention today. I know we didn't have a formal guest, and those were kind of burning issues, I guess, in my mind that I just wanted to get out there. I don't know if there's anything else that you wanted to share. I will be hitting the road in the great state of Iowa, and I'll be in Des Moines this coming week participating in their marketing conference and presenting. So if there's any bankers out there that are Iowa based that are going to be at the marketing conference, be sure to come up and say hello. But I'll be talking about our Digital Minds book and doing a session called The Digital Dozen, 12 Things Bankers Need to Know About Digital Marketing, and basically following the outline in the excerpts of our Digital Minds book. And so should be a good conversation. I'm looking forward to it.
We lost you for a minute, so repeat the name of your session. We heard 12 things, but we didn't hear the rest.
Whoops. So The Digital Dozen, 12 Things Bankers Need to Know About Digital Marketing. It'll play off of our Digital Minds book. So if you are interested.
So I just referred back to the notes that I made at that banker conference I was talking about earlier. And here's why you probably don't know that much about Snapchat. 50% of the user base of Snapchat are between 16 and 24 years old.
Yep, that would explain it. So anyway, this is the book that I'm referring to. This is our second edition of the Digital Minds book, and so we'll be covering the 12 elements that are covered in this and what a bank really needs to take out of it. But it is available as a free download on Kindle. I don't think I've kind of promoted this in a while, so if you are interested in snagging a copy, you can just do a search for Digital Minds, and that'll give you an opportunity to pull it down and stick it in your Kindle app.
We're having a little bit of a delay. Right this moment, we still have a white screen, or a Google screen. There it comes.
There we go.
Still waiting for the screen to paint.
Must be the internet coming over the mountains here in Coeur d'Alene is a little bit delayed. Hopefully everything's not 3 hours behind, including the internet. So anyway, so anything else on your mind, Jeffrey?
I don't think so. It was good talking with you and sharing a couple ideas this week. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, cool. Well, thanks again for the recommendation on Snapchat. We'll reach out and see if we can track him down and maybe bring that to a future free webinar Wednesday show. And these two old guys can learn a thing or two about Snapchat and maybe see if it's something that we need to pay attention to, right, Jeff? Did I lose the audio?
You did for a moment.
Yep. So, well, I think that might be technology saying, I think you are just about done. So with that, as long as I can talk, we're going to go ahead and wrap today's show. Thanks for joining us live, and hopefully the recording isn't too painful when we put it out there, given the challenges that we've had on audio. But we'll look forward to seeing you on a future episode of Free Webinar Wednesdays. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Have a great week. Bye-bye.